Welcome to the Soul Space. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Kim.
And these true life stories are brought to you to inspire growth, healing, and positive changes.
Enjoy.
Hello, Tony.
Hi, Sarah.
I'm so excited to have you on the
It's nice
podcast.
to see you again.
You too. We've kind of, this morning hasn't gone as planned, but it's worked out perfectly. We've had our cup of tea and we've already had our chat, but I want to, for people who don't know who you are, I wanted you on because I know that you and Jeff have been friends for years.
Yeah.
And I met you through kind of all the same kind of links.
Yeah.
Actually, it was when you had the Self-Empowerment Academy.
Yeah, the writing course, wasn't it?
Yeah, and all that sort of thing. But I've always had a lot of respect and admiration for you because the work that you do. But I want people to know more about you and the work that you do and your story. So, you know, going back to wherever you want to start.
Okay.
And just a bit about your story and your challenges and your adversities. And then we'll then talk about the work that you're doing now and your own experiences. So, the platform is yours.
Okay, so it's funny because we were talking earlier, weren't we? And coming back to this area, I haven't been around here for years, but this is where I was born.
Yeah.
So I was actually born in Hillfields. I think, not that I remember it, but what I've been told. So I think there was 3 or 4 families in one house. I was sleeping in a drawer.
Oh, wow.
So, then from there, moving to Woodend. So I was brought up in Woodend in Coventry, eldest of 4 brothers, which I loved Woodend as a kid because you could, well, probably not a good thing to say,
Would be
but yeah.
free back then because they had
Yeah.
floggy banks and everything, didn't they? And it was
Yeah.
all that sort of. I remember my mum talking about all that when she was a kid. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, it's fine. Yeah, that's what it was like, just
Yeah.
loads of kids.
Yeah.
So it was like a paradise in a way. And just play football or it was surrounded by fields. So we'd go out in the morning and be gone all day. You know, it was good.
Well, it wasn't built up back then, was it?
Not so much.
Like it is now. There's a lot
No.
of estates now, isn't there? And the children are a lot restricted, but yeah, very different lifetime.
It was a big council estate.
Yeah.
Locally, it was nicknamed Dodge City.
Oh, was it?
It had one pub, the Live and Let Live.
I
which
heard
got-
of that.
Yeah, which got burnt down. It had one chip shop, which got burnt down. So it was an interesting place. But yeah, as a kid, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I don't know how deep you want to go, but I went to Cardinal Wiseman School. And then from there, left school. My dad got me a job in a factory, did an apprenticeship there. And then worked there, lost the job when we finished the apprenticeship after 4 years. Everyone was made, it was the Margaret Thatcher time.
Okay.
So everyone was like laid off. And then from there, just worked in lots of different factories and out of work at times. And then eventually, a few years later, went into the fire service. So became a fireman. Just because I was fed up working in factories. I used to listen to all the older guys in the factories, and I used to love sitting with the older guys, and they'd be telling their life stories, but they'd moan like hell. And they'd be saying, if I had my life again, if I had my time again, I'd do something completely different. And one day I got this picture of myself sitting there, bearing in mind I must have been mid-20s, and I got a picture of myself sitting there as an old man telling some young kid coming through, if I had my time again. So I just thought, I've got to get out of here. And then I thought, well, what would I like to do? And I don't know why, because I'd never grown up, you know, some people think they grow up, they want to be a fireman or something like that. That had never entered my head. But for some reason, I don't know whether I saw a fire engine drive past at that time or something, but I thought, I wouldn't mind being a firefighter.
Yeah.
So I looked into that. I didn't know anyone that was in that job, didn't know anything about it. And that took me 2 years. It was a 2-year process. I had to go back I wasn't very good at school, so I had to go back. I remember going to W.H. Smith's, buying a book on maths, which was basically, this is a circle, cut it in half, you've got 2 halves, cut it into 4, you've got 4 quarters. So I went that far back. in my little welding booth, because I was working in a factory as a welder then, I'd be studying maths and stuff in, my dinner breaks, and eventually went for the fire service. It was a 2-year process. They said 4 out of every 100 people who applied got in,
Wow.
but I was determined to be in that 4.
Well, you were doing all the foundation work you were putting in.
Doing all the work,
yourself, yeah.
physically training really hard. I was training with Jeff at the time, but I was training every day, out running and doing different things. So yeah, got into the fire service. Was in there 17 years.
Wow. And how was those? And what was the fire service like for you? What did you your experiences there, your growth? What did it give you?
Wow,
What did it give
that's
you,
a good
Tony?
question. God, so many things. I think just getting in there itself was massive.
Yeah.
Because it was so hard to do. So that felt like a really big achievement. I hated it the first 3 months. Because the
Why?
first 3 months you're on a training school.
Right.
So you're living on the station. We were basically, to this day, I'd still say we were bullied. It was all ex-army and stuff like that.
So it was very, very disciplined.
It was really disciplined,
Yeah.
I think it's changed a lot now. And, I hated it. I used to cry at night in my bed. By this time, I was married. I had 2 kids. And I'd be there just crying, thinking, I can't do this.
It's overwhelming.
It was overwhelming, yeah. But stuck with it. So that in itself, that's something I think a lot of people don't realise what their achievements are. So sometimes when things get on top of you, you can always dip back into, I'm doing this all the time with people, well, tell me, like you're doing now, tell me about yourself. And when I listen to people's stories, it's like, wow, do you realise what you did there and how hard that was? And then they can dip back into that, when things get hard now.
Yeah.
You can look at, well, I've had harder challenges in the past. So getting in itself was massive. What did I learn in there? God, so much.
About yourself. What grew within you?
I think confidence.
Yeah.
The fact that I could, get into a job like that and work in a team. You're seeing death. You're seeing cutting people out of cars. You're seeing lots of dead bodies.
And when you started having those experiences, like the first few times when you were called to situations that were harrowing, traumatic, how did that affect you? And how did you deal with that? And were you given support?
We weren't given support at the time. I think it's changed now. It's weird because I actually do some work for the fire service now as a councillor,
Yes.
which is interesting.
We'll talk about your work.
Yeah, but at the time, no. It was just a banter. And believe it or not, you could have a drink in them days. They had a bar on the station. So
Oh, wow.
I know, yeah. That's stopped now as well, which is good. But so you just stand around the bar and have a pint and talk about it. Sometimes it was dark humour.
Was it quite in-house then? So
Yeah.
you, because I imagine, you're part of a team, but a bit like an in-house family, really. You're working together, you're supporting each other, you're going into these situations, and like you're saying, in dealing with death and traumatic situations, and then you go back, and would it be sort of you'd all give each other the support then, rather than
Yeah.
about it in
Yeah. But normally not. It wasn't, how did you feel about that? It was more, like I say, dark humour.
Yeah.
It would turn into a joke and then you just move on. That's how it was. None
Gotta
of it.
lift it off.
Yeah. I'd feel sad.
Excuse me.
Obviously, I'd feel sad for the people involved and families. And we went to that plane crash in Willenor. Do you remember?
I do. Was it? Yes, I do. Willenor Wood.
Yeah, Willenor Wood.
Yeah.
And there
Wasn't that a
5
cargo plane or
It was
something?
a cargo plane, but there was 5 or 6 people on that.
I heard
Yeah,
that.
and they all died, yeah. And you could see the bodies, the burnt bodies. But I remember thinking then, times like that, because that was just before Christmas. So you'd be thinking, or I'd be thinking, God, this is someone's going to get this message.
Yeah.
So things like that, but then I'd quickly sort of go over that, just go straight over the top and go to the next one. None of it affected me, if I'm honest. I did feel sad, but none of it affected me till I left. Yeah. And then I sat down and thought, well, I'm going to write a book, not just about the fire service, but when I sat down and started to write, that's when it really hit me.
Yeah.
I was like, bloody hell. I dealt with that. But at the time, you just get on with it. It wasn't until I reflected on it afterwards that it started to hit me a bit. But, yeah, I think I've still got that. Just get on with it.
Yeah.
But, you know.
You have to accept, because, accepting that, these things are a reality and part of life. And, we need people like yourself who are able to step forward and deal with those things that are happening, people that are working in the hospitals and, other, services as well. It's quite prominent, isn't it? You're going to be dealing with.
Yeah. Well, I think it's resilience, isn't it? I mean, it's that word's bandied about now. I've done some work around resilience, but I think that type of job, it used to anyway, attract pretty resilient people. But resilience doesn't mean that you don't get affected.
No.
It just means that you sort of pick yourself up and get, you go again.
Yeah.
And I learned that a lot through Jeff as well, training with Jeff. Because that training was quite brutal at the time. I mean, there was no MMA stuff. He was sort of like the forerunner for all of that.
Yeah.
And Jeff was very big. If somebody put you down with a punch or a kick, you get back up. There was no sympathy. It was just get back up and go again.
So would you say all the training and the things that you chose to put yourself forward to do and to learn and to experience really did sort of give you a really strong foundation for the work that was ahead for you? Without that, would it have been the same?
No.
Would you be able to deal with, cope with it?
No, and I think that's really interesting because even when I got into I know I'm jumping ahead here, but even when I got into the counselling side, my first two sort of placements, voluntary placements, one was mental health, and the other one was a hospice, Mighton Hospice.
Talk a little bit about your experiences with those.
Well, I think what I'm getting at is that whatever I've done, I don't know if this is deliberate or not, I've always gone at the deep end.
Yeah.
So
I totally get what you mean.
So with Jeff, I just wanted to do some martial arts. I've never really looked at what it was. A friend of mine says, we used to train in my garage, we'd just knock the hell out of each other. And he said, I know a guy who does he does a karate class. Do you fancy going? I said, okay. And that's how I met Jeff. Yeah. Just went along. But I didn't realise what a tough club that was. Yeah. So I've ended up with Jeff Thompson, who went on to become massive.
But it's high level, isn't it? It's high level training, high level.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Everything.
It's pretty
mentally,
brutal.
physically, spiritually, emotional.
Well, back then it was just physical. But it's changed.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's evolved.
It's evolved, yeah. Which you're meant to do within martial arts. That's the idea of going through grades. When you get high grades, the idea is you're becoming more spiritual. At first, it's all physical. But even when I got into the counselling, the fire service, I didn't really know what I was getting into. I just went.
Was it like a pull? Did you get any visions?
Do you know what?
In a sat nav saying this way, and you just sort of felt the pull?
I've always felt that I've been guided.
Yes.
Always, since I was a little kid. Whether it's something my mum used to say, you've got a guardian angel. And I've always believed that. Yeah. Got no problem believing that. I think my one's worked hard. But, yeah. So I've always gone into deep. I think pain's a motivator as well, isn't it? So for me, being in that factory and picturing my life, for the next 30 years or whatever, just being a robot. And I'm not knocking anyone in the factory, fair play to them. Because
some people, they love it, they're thriving. That is their purpose. They're in there, they're great for keeping teams going, and they like that industry, But when you're a creative or you're a healer, or you've got God, the angels, the ancestors, your divine mission purpose is of a different path. You're going to get pulled.
Yeah.
And you're going to get the nudges and the pokes and the prods.
And you've got to go, haven't you? And
yes.
I think pain's a motivator as well, isn't it? So for me, the thought of staying in that factory it was too painful.
Yeah.
And they say pain and pleasure are two motivators. So sometimes,
definitely.
Sometimes it's like someone said to me a few times in my life, it's like you're sitting on a rusty nail and it's not sharp enough yet. When it starts sticking in your backside, that's when you go, right, I've got to do something now. Yeah. So the factory was pretty painful for me. I think I was starting to get depressed. I hated it on days, and then they brought a night shift in, and I had 2 little kids, so I'd be going home, going to bed. I wasn't seeing my kids, and I thought, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So that was my motivation, really. But I've always, like I say, I've always ended up even when I got into the counselling, like I thought, where are the challenges, right? Mental health, that'll be hard, so I'll go and do that. And then once I'd done that for 2 years, which I enjoyed, okay, what's hospice? That'd be hard, dealing with the dying. So I went and did that, so yeah, I've always took the challenge on.
So you've you went through your free childhood of running around Wood End, being free bird.
That's true.
Then into was for you like a bit of a caged bird in a factory, being shown your choices and your options, having a big pull to go and do very hard discipline and training, and going into the fire service, and becoming a rescuer, to then becoming very disciplined, embarking on a lot of deep training for yourself physically with martial arts, and then becoming more of a healer, really, going and working with people who are in deep suffering and going through challenges, whether mental health, emotional health, and end-of-life care. Tell us a little bit about the hospital. I'm really intrigued about that, because we were talking about death earlier, weren't we, about death. Tell us a bit more about your experiences and anything you want to share in regards to
the hospice.
Without saying people's names.
No. Well, the hospice was an interesting one, because the place itself, Mighton Hospice in Warwick, it was just, wow. When I walked in there, you talk about spiritual. That had a real spiritual feel to it.
Yeah.
Just the place. Even though I was there 2 years, I didn't work with that many people, because you're working with people long term, so I probably only worked with maybe 3 or 4 people. I worked with some of the families. That was more to do with families, so people who had relatives that had died at the hospice. So it was more dealing with bereavement and grief, that side of stuff for me, than actually dealing with the dying.
Yeah. What's that word look like, Tony? When people say, for people that are listening, a little bit more in depth, what would be what would the conversations sound like? What would they look like? What would be the things that you would offer? I know every family and every person's different, because everyone's lived different lives, that they're dealing with different things. I know there'll be problems and divides in some cases, and regrets maybe with some people. A few examples of how you would work, and what an example of maybe something that sticks out for you, a poignant.
God, loads of things stick out. I think it's a really hard time, isn't it, for lots of different reasons.
Yeah.
And
what are people experiencing?
What are they
experiencing?
Oh, pain, real pain. You can feel the pain. Even if I was doing telephone work, it was like you could feel the pain on the other end of the phone. And I think part of the work is getting into being empathic, picking up on that as well.
Yeah.
God, loads of. I could give you loads of examples.
Is there anyone that you came very close to?
I think I get close to all of them.
Do you?
Yeah, but you learn to be quite boundaried as well. You have to be.
Well, protect yourself, because
you go crazy. Yeah.
Well, it's an energy, isn't it? When the people are going through deep loss, and that sacred time of transition. We talked about this earlier, didn't we? That is a deep suffering, and yet when you're around grief and people going through that, you've got to kind of protect your own heart, haven't you? I've actually just stuck it in, and then it's like, got nothing to give.
You've sort of got to give, it's easy to say, but they say, you've got to be able to switch off a bit at the end and give it them back.
Yeah.
Or else you're taking it home with you.
Yeah. Well, it's not ours, is it? It's not yours, is it? It's theirs, but...
No. But I think the fact that you can step into their world for a bit, it means so much. I've worked with people, especially around bereavement, and you think, I'm not doing anything here, I'm not achieving anything. But then afterwards, maybe a year or so later, they'll say, you really helped me through that time. but it doesn't feel as though you're doing anything. But just, I always say to people, because people are always saying, well, what do I do here? Give me some advice. And I say, just listen.
Hold space.
Just hold space, listen to people, because that's massive. You're not, if somebody's lost someone really close to them, there's nothing you can say or do really that's going to make them feel any better.
No.
They've got to process that. But if you can sit with them through that process, we were talking earlier, weren't we? And I was saying when my dad passed away, going back to work, I was in the fire service, there was only one guy, and they were nice people who I worked with, but only one guy came up to me and he shook my hand and just said, oh, sorry to hear about your dad. Everyone else was sort of like, just kept away. Yeah. And I get that now, because we're not very good at dealing with death. People don't know what to say. So I've learned, again, maybe through this work, again, maybe the type of character step up. Just say, like that guy did, sorry to hear about your loss. That's it. Yeah. So people know that you're there and you do care. Kindness, yeah. But I think giving people just again, it's the old saying, isn't it? We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Just listen to people. Yeah. It means a lot at so many different levels. Most of us don't feel valued, you know, so by listening to people, you're giving them your time, you're saying, look, you're worth listening to. Yeah. So, yeah, massive. But it's always sad because, you know, people fall out. I saw whole families fall out, nice families. Yeah. Somebody says the wrong thing and the whole family have got, you see, nobody's talking to each other at a time where they really need each other.
Yeah. Yeah, because emotions are so high and there's so many things that come to the surface when we're losing, especially if they're a key member of the family, you know, and like a matriarchal figure of the family as well, that can bring an awful lot of things to the surface because you've got the younger ones and they're still, you know, they've still got things to learn. Like I say, it can bring up regret, unlock memories, it can, you know, bring up so much. People can get, you know, feel worried, like, you know, what am I going to do when they're gone? Who's going to be there? They can become very, feel just lost, definitely, can't they?
Yeah. Well, I think it's even worse if it's a child. That's even worse. So, yeah, I've done a bit with that as well. So that's painful. Yeah. Because you think, you know, I've got 2 kids and even sometimes I feel like a bit of a hypocrite because I'm sitting with people and I'm there with them and I've cried myself with them sometimes. Some people say you shouldn't do that, but it's hard sometimes. You can feel the tear and it's going to drop and you're thinking, don't drop. And then you can feel it go boom. But yeah, and I think, well, if that was me, I don't know what I'd be like. The thought of losing a child. So that's tough. But again, you've just got to sit with them and go through it and let them tell you about them. And you do see changes. People do go through stages. And you see, you know, I always look for, you know, they might say, I can't listen to a voicemail or I can't look at a picture of them. And then after a few weeks or months, they might show you a picture. It's like, oh, great. Okay. So it's starting to, you know, the American stuff of closure, I think that's a load of rubbish. But I get that. You just learn to adapt and you learn to accept it and go with it. Navigate.
That's it. You know, I use that word a lot, and navigate, because I do, you know, we've both experienced losses in our life. And I feel the same. I don't feel you ever stop loving them and missing them and ever processing layers. I mean, only beginning this week, I had another layer of healing in regards to my loss with my mum, and I was telling you about my dad last year, and I'm always going to have that feeling of, oh, you know, but use it as fuel, and over the time it's you just navigate and you come to like different emotional center points with it all. But I always sort of recommend to people, I always sort of say, look, it's okay. There's going to be some times where you're just going to cry. Sometimes there's going to, you know, I use music as a lot of therapy. Okay. And sometimes you're going to be absolutely fine. You're going to be absolutely having the joys of life and laughing your head off. But they're always still going to be there, just in the thought. But whatever you do in life, you know, honour them, remember them, make peace. If there was a situation that wasn't very healthy, or there's things that have gone on, make peace.
Yeah.
Come to a place of acceptance. Accept.
Yeah.
And just
acceptance is massive.
yeah,
Isn't it?
everything has a timeline. We are here for a time. You know, we're not here to, and I see it, you know, it's in my own family. People are carrying real suffering and grief for years and years, 20, 30 years. And their life, they've shrunk because they're stuck and they're cocooned. It can do that.
Yeah.
It can really debilitate you. But it doesn't have to be that way. And you have to go through the pain to come through, break through to the side.
Definitely.
Step back into your light, navigate yourself back to your heart. Have good people around you who will sit and hold space for you. It's so important, isn't it, to have support? Because as we know, people don't know what to say. They shy away. I've experienced it. You've experienced it. And it's not because they don't care. They don't know what to say.
Yeah.
They just don't know what to say, and that's okay. But you've got to bring some people in who will give you the support, because you can't do it entirely alone. You can't navigate through loss alone. It's so important to have love and people that are carrying compassion and empathy and the ability to really hold space for you, because it goes such a long way, doesn't it?
Oh, massive.
It goes
It's
such a long
massive,
way.
yeah.
Like you say, a year later,
Yeah.
thank God you were there. Thank God you were there. And it never leaves you. You always remember who really sat next to you while you were a mess and broken and experiencing, you know, your child taking his or her last breath. You know, the people that are there. We need people like that. It's so important, you know. Yeah, anyway, sorry. It's all come through then. So, oh my God. But yeah, we were saying earlier, because we went for a cup of tea, and I think it seems to be a bit of a common theme in my podcast these days when I'm talking about death, but it's so important we acknowledge it.
It's part of life, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. And, you know, we were talking about belief systems and people's experiences, and my experience is there is more after, you know.
I believe that, yeah.
I've felt spirit, heard spirit. I know I've had it all come through. Have you had any experiences like that, Tony?
Yeah, quite a few. I went through a spell of going through spiritualist churches. Just
Good old spiritual churches,
just
yeah.
I liked it. I liked the people there. But yeah, loads of. I'm trying to think of some now. There's been quite a few actually. But I remember when my dad died, there was a woman. I went to a spiritualist church the week he died. And then in that week before he was buried, I went to the church, and there was a woman there, and she was saying about she had a young lad in front of her, and she said that I'm covered in water, he's drowned, but he wants to say sorry. Yeah. And no one could, you know, I don't know if you've ever sat in them, but they say, can anybody take this?
Yes,
and nobody could take it. Some of it I used to find quite amusing.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a flower. Can anyone take a flower? And you're like, oh God.
Yeah. Well, everyone's working at a different level. We're not mocking anyone who's doing
I'm not.
spiritual.
I really liked it.
Sorry.
So
but, you know, I totally get it. Yeah. Sometimes it's a bit vague, isn't it? No, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, give us names, give us dates, give us, you know, this is what we're here for, yeah.
But I remember I always remember the guy who ran it, and his name was Marcos, nice guy. He said, someone questioned something, and he said, what do you want them to do? Hold a big banner up above their heads going, we're here. He said, sometimes those type of messages are as good as you're going to get.
Yeah.
But anyway, this woman, no one could take it. I never thought anything of it. Went to my dad's funeral, and loads of people were coming up talking about my dad and stuff like that. And this guy came up, he was talking to me, and never knew him. And then I said to my mum afterwards, who was that? And she said, that was one of your dad's friends. His son drowned. He fell in a river, and he drowned. They reckon he was only 16 or something. But he took drugs, or he was drunk, and he fell in the river and he couldn't get out. And I was like, wow. But, you know, I didn't.
So that he'd come through because you're the link to his dad. And obviously everything coming up. Yeah. It does work like that though sometimes, doesn't it? Messages do come through, and it's a channel to go for someone else.
I think that's how it's normally worked for me.
Yeah.
When stuff like that's happened. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it's happened, I remember another one. I couldn't sleep. I was in Spain. I'd gone to Spain to write my book. Jeff always takes the mick out of me for that. Why did you? I said, I just wanted a bit of peace. And my wife's auntie had a villa there, and I knew no one was there. So I said,
Villa
"Can
in
I-"
Spain,
I
write a
know,
book,
yeah.
come on.
I said, can I go out and use your villa? And she said, yeah. But I didn't. I just stayed in the villa.
Wicked, I love that.
And I'd go for a run every morning, come back. It was really weird because writing that book, the first 2 days, I didn't do anything. Because I'd said to her, like, I'll clean your villa, I'll do this, I'll do that. And I just kept distracting myself. And then in the end, sat down and started to write it. But I couldn't sleep. And one night, it was almost like a dream. And in this dream, I was in an office. I didn't have an office, but I was in this office in this dream. And there was a knock at the door, and a woman came in and goes, your next client's here. Right? I think I might have just started working as a counsellor then. Yeah, I was. I was working at Coventry University on their counselling team. Anyway, this woman came in. I'm trying to... I don't want to exaggerate it. But anyway, this woman came in, or somebody came in and they said, I've got a bracelet for this woman. I won't say her name. They said, I've got a bracelet for this woman. And I thought, it didn't make any sense to me whatsoever, but it sort of stuck. So when I got back to Coventry, I spoke to one of the women who I knew she was into spiritual stuff. And I said to her, when I was away, I had this dream about this woman appearing to me and giving me a bracelet for this other lady who worked at the camp. And she said, you haven't heard, have you? And I said, no. She goes, she died. The woman, she was killed in a car crash, this counsellor who was on the counselling team in a different part of the world. And she died. When I was away, it was the funeral, so I didn't go to the funeral. But she was close friends with one of the other guy counsellors there. They got on really well. And so this woman went and told him, and she said, I don't know if this means anything, but Tony said that so-and-so came, he didn't know that she'd died, and he mentioned a bracelet, and apparently this guy went pale because her daughter came up and said, my mum always wanted you to have this bracelet. Wow. So little stuff like that.
I think dream world is amazing the dream world is. Because we connect, you know, we travel, we journey, we're doing this, that and the other. Sometimes dreams can be a little bit discombobulating, can't they, and a bit fractured, but even in all that, there's messages everywhere. But when they come through like that, they're really vivid, aren't they?
Yeah. So
I love that.
Loads of little things like that.
So your book, you wrote your book?
I wrote the book. I haven't done anything with the book, to be honest. At first, I sort of pushed it, but then I've just left it now. It's only on Amazon.
Only on Amazon?
Yeah,
It is on Amazon.
Yeah,
What's it called?
It's called Fighter, Rescuer, Healer. So
You gave me a copy of
Did
that,
I?
yeah.
Oh, okay. So the first bit was just growing up in Woodend on a council estate. Because even though we were three, I was the eldest of four brothers, so there was a lot of, you know, it was quite a rough estate. And then getting into all the stuff with Jeff, you know.
Because you two are like soul brothers.
Yeah, we get on really well.
You know, you two have, There's a few people, energies, and I always kind of see you two as be very like twinned.
Okay.
In lots of ways. I know you're very different, but you've always, you know, and then you've obviously got the other little,
Matty.
you know, Matty. We love Matty. We'll get Matty on here at some point when he's not in Mexico or traipsing around the Amazon rainforest.
No, he loves it, doesn't he?
But so you wrote your book. Then where did we go from there? I highly recommend the book, by the way.
Thank you. I left the fire service, which, again, I just jumped. I just trusted that I'd be okay.
Why did you leave? What was it?
I think I just got... there was a few reasons. I think I was always thinking about it. One, I was always... This is quite deep. I was always trying to prove myself.
Okay.
So, you know, I'd prove myself by going to, say, a boxing class or Jeff's class. I'd prove that I can educate myself. I'd prove that I could get a job like the fire service. And do you know what? I'll prove that I can leave the fire service and I'll be all right, because no one left. It's very rare. I probably knew maybe 3 people out of the whole West Midlands fire service.
Well, it is quite a secure...
Yeah. It's changed a bit now, but it was. No one left.
It was like a job for life then, wasn't it, really? You know, you got your... Which is security.
It was a job for life,
want security, don't we? But
and it was a good pension and sick pay and all of that stuff. And it gave you a bit of significance as well.
yeah.
I'd never tell people that I was a fireman. If people asked me, I'd tell them. My wife would tell everybody, oh, my husband's a fireman. I thought, why are you telling people
Well,
that?
there's a whole thing with all that,
Yeah,
to be
gosh,
honest.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Firemen,
Yeah.
us ladies love the firemen, all that sort of thing. But
Yeah,
but there is a respect, you
Yeah.
know, there is a great respect in that because of the things that you know, sometimes that have to be faced.
Yeah.
You know, they're not easy at all.
No, it's a good
Fire's
job.
scary.
Yeah, and I've still got loads of respect
Yeah.
for the people in that job, the people that do that job. All the public services, really.
Yeah. And it's important that we do respect that because they're so important.
Yeah.
Without them would be, oh my gosh,
Oh,
what a
definitely,
mess
yeah.
everything would be.
Yeah.
I just hope that the powers of be do start having more conscious connections with what what's really important in our society, with all the services, with the NHS and all that sort of thing. And it is given a lot more love and support because it's valuable. We need it. You know, we need these free services, and a lot of things have been privatised. I'm going on a tiny little bit of a tangent here, but it is important that we recognise that all these things were put together and created and built by good people who wanted people to be safe, to be healthy, and protected,
Yeah, definitely.
supported.
Yeah.
And they're so important. And sometimes the media can give a real misrepresentation, but it's real people going in and doing these, out there on the front line with all these jobs. And they do need a lot more love and encouragement and respect and support because it's tough. And the powers that be that are creating, the new systems, the new this, that and the other, just, come down and do the work before you try and dictate how things should be.
I think most of the people in there go in there for the right reasons. They do care.
But the people that are going in, they're good people.
Good people, yeah.
I've spoke to some
Most of them,
incredible
yeah.
policemen.
Yeah.
Some of the nurses, not everyone, but some of the nurses up at the hospital are just such beautiful souls.
Definitely, yeah.
And yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to say about that because we
That's all right.
we appreciate.
Yeah.
So you've left the fire service.
I left the
Tony.
fire service.
Did you go like fully self-employed then? Or
No, well,
I
I passed my counselling qualifications and I sort of naively thought, well, I'm a counsellor now.
Yes.
I'll get work.
Yeah.
And it was not that
Graft.
easy. Yeah, really graft. So, but again, fate. There was a guy through Jeff who was, he had his own company and he ran conflict management courses
Okay.
in the NHS. And he offered me some work. So for a few years, I'd done hundreds and hundreds of conflict management courses in the NHS. But that was hard as well because I'm quite introvert, So I had to stand up in front of normally 24 women who didn't want to be there. They hated the course. They hated conflict resolution. But it was a great experience for me as well because I'd go in straight away and I'd have a laugh with them. So I basically tailored the course the way I wanted it to. Yeah. But I felt like I couldn't lose because it had such a bad reputation and their training overall is quite not good. So all I had to do was go in, sort of turn into a bit of an entertainer for the first hour, get them laughing.
Raise the vibration.
So they go, oh, this is all right. And then I'd bring sort of like coaching and counselling stuff in because they overlap a bit as well. You're dealing with people.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I did that. And then that built up then, just gradually built up the counselling side of things and got work at Coventry University. That was good. I liked that, working with the students. Made me feel young again. Energy. It's a good energy, walking across the campus in the morning with all the young people. I like that. Just went from there then, built up some private work. For the last few years, I've been working with a guy from Birmingham, a guy called Alan Dovey. He's an interesting character, but he does all occupational health. So we do work for National Grid, Lincolnshire Police, West Midlands Fire Service. So that's going back and working with the firemen,
Wow.
fire women. Save the Children, I've done some work with them. Worked for a charity called Neiman Pick. It's a very rare disease, but if kids get it, they tend not to live very long. So you're working with the parents of, people that have lost kids.
Gosh.
So it's been quite varied, really.
You're very busy.
Busy, yeah.
Yeah. So what you've brought all your experiences and all your training and all your everything that you've kind of accumulated over time and space, and now it's all kind of branched out into quite a few different areas, actually.
Yeah. Well, the occupational health work is challenging because you're only supposed to have 6 sessions with people, but it quite often overruns. They're normally all right. But yeah, that can be anything: anxiety, depression, trauma, bereavement, people, relationships breaking up, all sorts.
Yeah. So you literally are seeing a bit, absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. But the same sort of principles apply. Listening,
Well, you gave me this. This is something.
That's a model we use with people called SEEDS.
Talk to us a bit about this.
So SEEDS is basically something I would tell people right at the beginning. It's quite basic, but like we were saying earlier, I found through the martial arts stuff with Jeff that the simple, scruffy stuff works. People tend to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
They look for really fancy answers and think, but you're not even doing the basics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, no, I want to do this, but you've got to do the basics first.
Yeah.
So the SEEDS is basically, like I say, it's an acronym. The S is for social. So, one of the red flags I'd look for with things like depression and stuff, have they got friends? Do they live on their own? Are they mixing? Because one of the things that came out of all the COVID stuff as well, people were locked down. People didn't mix. I felt myself getting a little bit, whoa. I ended up, going and seeing people and going back to the gym and stuff like that, which you weren't supposed to do, but I missed it so much, and just going in there and having a laugh. The gym's my social life, because I know that.
Awesome.
It's brilliant. I always go in there, have a laugh with people, banter.
I think the lockdown really brought a lot of things to the surface for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Stuff that they'd been repressing or ignoring. I mean, personally, I thrived. I loved it.
Did you? Oh, I didn't like it.
Loved it. I was so connected. But anyway, so go back to SEEDS.
So the social side of stuff is really important.
Yeah.
And there's lots of research now that says people who live the longest, I know it's a big topic, but people who live the longest tend to be more sociable.
Yeah.
I've got an experience of that in my own life as well. My dad was very unsociable. He would talk to people, but he'd quite happily just sit on his own. My mum's so sociable, it's unbelievable. And my dad died 25 years ago, and my mum's, she got dementia now. I'm going to see her today, but she's still going. And she's still, even though she's got dementia, she's still like sitting with people and stuff. So the sociable side is really important. Getting out, mixing with people, even though if you're feeling depressed, you don't want to do that. But it's important, like you said earlier, even just listening to people, having people around you. That's important.
It's life force energy. We're all sharing.
Definitely.
And, topping each other up. Well, if
Yeah.
you're in the right social circles, that is. But it is. We're not solitary creatures.
We're social creatures.
We are.
Yeah.
Like pack animals.
We're definitely,
and all
We're
those
tribal,
things.
aren't we?
Massively huge.
Yeah.
So we've got. And I'll read it out,
Okay.
and then we'll go through it. So 5 essential factors for cultivating and maintaining mind-body health. First one is a social factor, just discussed. Next is exercise.
We just talked about
exercise.
Definitely. Well, again, there's loads of research on that now, isn't there? That you release all the good hormones.
Oh, endorphin city, isn't it? Serotonin city.
Dopamine.
And you're doing yoga now, aren't you?
Yeah, I love yoga.
Love that for you.
Got into it a few months ago. Yeah, loving it.
Going from kicking ass, punching and grappling and doing all the things, because you've taught martial arts as well, haven't you?
Yeah, taught a lot.
So now you're doing yoga, and you've done sound bath. We talked about that earlier. You had an incredible experience with your sound bath, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'll have to get you back on again, because that was just amazing. And then we've got, next is education.
Keep learning, keep growing.
Yeah.
Because it's easy just to switch off. But that's important as well. Again, it's almost like exercise for your brain. Keep learning.
Don't stay stuck.
No.
We're still growing and learning.
Definitely.
I feel like a baby sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much to learn and understand. And you've got to have the willingness. Just be open to, listen, you don't know everything. I know you might feel like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders and a lot of responsibility going on, but just grow and learn new things. If there's an instrument you've always wanted to go and learn it.
Yeah.
Or if you can't swim, go and learn to swim.
Definitely.
You know.
Well, again, there's research that it grows your brain, doesn't it?
And doing things that you're not entirely comfortable with.
Yeah.
Public speaking.
100%.
Stuff like that, you know. Put yourself out there. You never know. You probably find that you're actually bloody good at it, you know. And you might enjoy it.
Yeah.
Anything that helps you to grow. And I say this every time, and Jeff drilled this into me. No growth in comfort. And that's been your mantra by the sound of it as well.
I think it's a balance. I think you can stay in the discomfort. You can, if you keep pushing yourself too much, you burn out, don't you?
Yes.
So you've got to get a balance with it. Like you say, you've got to look after yourself. But yeah, definitely, you've got to go into the discomfort.
Can't be too regimented.
No.
But you have to have those points. Yeah. Absolutely. Diet.
Diet, yeah. That's important.
Yeah.
Obviously, what you put in.
Food is your mood.
There's a lot to it. Again, you know, they talk about now, don't they? It's really interesting because I was doing a course on mental health and they brought a psychiatrist in. And it was really interesting to hear her talk about the embodied mind. I thought, wow. So they're basically saying it's not just about here.
Yeah.
It's also to do, you know, I think the next most nerve endings in the body are in our gut.
Yeah. Well, the gut is, there's a whole, there's a few books about all the gut health and everything, but that's another brain.
Yeah.
A huge sensory, but every organ, everything has an energy force, a life force, energy force, and everything's connected inside our body, isn't it? Yeah. And everything communicates. Yeah, if we're lacking, even the simplest thing of hydrating.
Massive. I've got my water with me now.
All the food that we have, some of it is just going to slow things down or even put some things dormant and put them to sleep.
Definitely.
You know, so the cleaner,
the
better. Make sure we're not getting deficient.
Do you know the thing with hydrating? You need a wee. Can we stop? Can I go for a wee? Has anyone ever said that to you before?
No. Go. Yeah, I think deficiency plays a huge part with a lot of people these days, isn't it? We're just bloody deficient. Energy levels, get lots of iron-rich foods and stuff like that. I mean, it's been something I've had to really learn and connect with myself, because I was always an emotional eater.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, which I think a lot of people like.
Definitely,
You know, it just is. If you're not feeling it, you can't eat.
Yeah.
Or you overcomfort eat, don't you? But
it's hard to know what to eat as well because there's so much misinformation out there as well, isn't there?
Huge, all the time. It does my head in a little bit.
Yeah.
Eat this. No, don't eat that because of this. And it's like, I'll tell you what. I'm going to connect my body and ask my body, what do you need?
That's the key.
Oh, okay, just do that.
I remember listening to. Have you heard of Anthony Robbins?
Oh, I love him.
But he's a big life coach for people that haven't heard about it. But I remember listening to him and he said when he made his first million, because he always struggled with his weight, he went to see the top 3 dietitians in America. And he said, I came out more confused than when I went in. So I decided just to listen to my body. Just connect. Everything is speaking. With my work, 'cause I do a lot of healing through my restorative massage. My guides come in, I work. The communication of the body is incredible. It's always speaking. Yeah.
Just got to know. You just got to learn how to connect. We all have that ability. Kids are fantastic. You get them, sit, breathe, connect, talk to your body. Stuff that comes out of them instant.
Our kids are brilliant. Yeah.
They are.
I love kids.
But you know, again, this is, as we talk about quite often, probably, we're just not taught about these things. No. But once you learn how to do it, you can get so much guidance, can't you?
Yeah.
But just give your body what it needs. Make sure it's hydrated. You don't need to eat loads of food. You don't need to be feeling heavy and sluggish, but we need fuel, energy. So anyway, what was the next one?
Seeds, isn't it?
Sleep,
yeah. Again, lots of research done on this at the moment. And the amount of people that struggle. My sleep's not always great, but yeah, that's so important. They reckon your body heals when you're asleep, and then it's looking at why you're not sleeping. You're not sleeping. Is it psychologically where you're finding it hard to switch off? And again, I mean, I'm doing a course at the moment on insomnia, CBT and insomnia, which is really interesting because you've got things like sleep apnea. Yeah. I didn't realise how dangerous that was.
Gosh.
I just thought it was just people waking up.
Yeah.
but apparently it can kill you. It can lead to lots of different cancers, heart disease.
Really?
So that's something to be taken really seriously, you know, if people are holding their breath in their sleep.
That's a lot of stress in the body, though, isn't it?
It
The
can be
central
stress.
nervous system's
Yeah.
like fired.
Yeah.
So things like breath work and meditations can
Definitely.
help massively with that.
100% mindfulness,
Yeah,
all of that
even
stuff.
being low magnesium can you
Yeah.
know, can stop you from having a good full night's sleep. Again, deficiencies in the body, stress, anxiety. So go to someone who can really help guide you through all those things.
Yeah.
Drinking things like, you know, your sleepy teas before bed, and mugwort's really good for.
Is it?
Yeah, mugwort's really good, and cacao at night. I used to mix cacao and reishi together again. Then it's perfectly natural, no nasty side effects. But that always used to give me a really good into my heart knockout. Gone. You don't need any sort of sleepers from the doctor or anything like that. There's loads of stuff out there. So a really good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Then we still look 30 like we do.
I wish, yeah. I feel 30. Then I look in the mirror and go, no, you're not. You're not
I
30.
think you look incredible. I said we hadn't seen each other for a long time, have we? And I said,
No.
you look younger.
No.
You look younger, but
wish I
then
did.
you're doing a lot more.
Yeah. I'm doing weights at the Red Corner with Glenn. Glenn Smith, who's brilliant.
Yeah.
And
Love the
then
Red
the
Corner.
yoga a couple of times a week
Over in Bedworth.
in Bedworth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
thank you so much for coming in and sharing it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
And I'm sorry we got a little bit kind of waylaid and it was all a
sorry.
little bit this morning, but it worked out.
Yeah.
It worked out really well. So, any sort of lasting words that you'd like to kind of share with anyone who, would be, so they're looking to make changes and move forward and they're a bit stuck. What would be something that you would recommend?
I think you've got there's so much. I think you've got to find out your why you're doing it, because there's an old saying, isn't there? I think it was Nietzsche. Other people get credited with it, but he said if you've got a strong enough why, you'll overcome any how. So if you know why you're doing something, you've got to know why you're doing it, why you want to do it, and attach a load of emotion to it as well. Yeah, because everything we do, like salespeople say, people buy on emotion.
They do.
So you've got to. So if I was working with, I used to work with some of the boxers from the Red Corner, and they say, I want to be a British champion. Okay, so that's your goal. And we get them to picture winning the title. What would it be like? And they'll go, oh yeah, it'd be great. No. What would it really be like? Oh yeah, it'd be great. No,
emotional.
Show me what would it? And you get them going, yeah, I'd be dancing, and they're getting up, and you can see this. So the energy's
embodying,
that
emotion.
So then your mind's going, your brain's going, oh, I like that. Yeah. So if you can sort of control your mind, get it on course. So you can get we talk about mind, body, spirit. If you can get them all in a line, then they're all going in the same direction. But if you don't really know why you're doing it, as soon as it gets hard, you're going to stop.
Yeah.
This is too hard.
Yeah. And we don't quit.
No.
Do we, Tony?
Keep going.
Even if it's, pushing your emotional boundaries to a point, keep going.
Yeah, I think for me that a lot of that comes down to faith and belief. I always ask for guidance. Like I said, I've always felt like I've been guided. Yeah. So I always ask for guidance. I always say, to God, let me see God in everyone, and hopefully let them see God in me.
Beautiful.
And the other thing I would say, we touched on this a little bit earlier, whenever I've talked to people, I don't think I've ever met anybody yet that I haven't listened to and gone, you're amazing. Their life story, and they're like, I haven't done anything. What? It's just, so I think people, how can I word this? People are much more or much better than they think they are. Yeah. And I think it's hanging on to that.
Well, we're all here. Beings
just to be
of
alive,
light.
yeah. Like we were talking earlier, weren't we? I get up every morning. First thing I do is get on my knees. Like I say, I've got my own beliefs, and I just thank God for being alive. I think this is the gift. The gift is life. The rest is a
Gratitude
bonus.
is so important, isn't it? Just to
Gratitude
say thank
is
you.
massive, yeah.
Thank you. And again, this is something I talk about in every podcast. Just say thank you, even when you're going through some of the most darkest times. There's always things to be grateful for. That is, you know, we've got food in our cupboards, we've got water coming out of a tap, you know, we've got access to world information, we've got community, we've got clothes on our back, we've got warmth in our homes, you know. Even if we are struggling with those basic things, we've still got them.
Yeah.
You know,
But
and there's always someone who loves and cares for us.
Yeah, but I think it's even more basic than that. As like I say, it's just being alive.
Yeah.
I'm alive. The breath. God's in the breath.
As that gentleman said to you.
We're alive.
Yeah. We just opened our eyes this morning. That in itself is a big gift. We've got the opportunity and choices to do whatever we want.
Yeah.
To become
100%.
whatever we want.
Yeah.
But give yourself some nurture and believe in yourself and
100%.
know that you can do anything. Like you've made so many, you know, that person who all the way back then was sitting in a factory and had choices laid out to your life journey and what you've and the growth and the impact that you have because of your choices that helps and supports other people. Profound.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny you say that because, I mean, we could go on for hours, couldn't we? But I still see myself at times, I still see that scared little boy on a council estate because it was rough.
Yeah.
And I was always quiet, you know, just as scared. And that scared little boy is still there. But I just, almost like metaphorically speaking, have to put my arm around him and go, come on, the adult me, I can cope.
I completely identify with that. I have to talk to little Sarah quite often at times.
Yeah.
And she comes out, she's full of anxiety and worry and, you know, because the things that I experienced, and I have to kind of go, you know, you're all right.
Yeah.
Go back in time when I meditate to certain key points in my life and I whisper in her ear. And fully enough, what I say has always been kind of a little bit of a voice that's come along, bit of timeline healing. But I totally get that. And our inner child is never leaves us because we are.
You don't want it to. You don't want it. Do you know what? Some of the best compliments my son gives me. We've got a good relationship, and he's in his 30s now. I won't say how old he is because he'd get mad at me. But he'll say to me now and again, he'll go, "Grow up, Dad." Right? And I'm like, yes. Because there's times I don't want to grow up.
Yeah.
I want to be a child. I know I'm being childish, like dad jokes, and I know they're
But we
crap,
have
but
to
I'm
have
crying.
that. We have to have that element.
Definitely.
Because, you know, it's that's the joy element, isn't it? That's the light energy. When we're kids, everything is light. We don't have all the weight of the world yet. Well,
No.
we hope.
No. But that's the little boy,
play.
isn't it, Sarah?
Yeah.
There's the little boy, there's the scared little boy, but there's also the other side of that little boy that just wants to have fun and laugh
and play and be
play.
innocent. Yeah, and just and we should never lose that.
No.
And we should always be connected to that. If you could go back in time and whisper in something in your ear when you were younger, what age should we choose? What should we choose?
Well, they say, don't they, 0 to 7, they call the imprint stage. I think the thinking's changing on that now. They say up to 15. But I know if I could go back and talk to me
I
as
think
a
it
little
ever
kid-
ends.
No.
So let's pick an age. 10. I'm getting 10.
Well, yeah. I was thinking even if I went, I would just say, you're a beautiful little boy and you're going to be all right.
Yeah.
You'll be okay. No matter what happens, you'll be okay. And I think that's true. I've always believed that. And I think that's the guardian angel stuff. It doesn't mean that you don't have hard times, but it just means, you know what? I'll be okay.
Yeah. Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going.
And I always have been okay. I've been on my knees loads of times, but I'll always be okay.
And for the people that are on their knees right now,
yeah, keep going.
keep going.
Yeah.
Get up, look in the mirror. You know,
You're more than you think you are.
yeah. Be
And
kind.
again, yeah, and everyone's got different beliefs. I think we're on similar paths, but my faith for me is massive.
Yeah, I love that. And that's faith. Faith is something that has, over the last, I wouldn't say it's always been there. It hasn't. I felt quite the opposite at times. I knew there was more, but faith is a whole new beautiful world of feeling. And it's something, it's like when you give over that control, I need to control everything that I'm doing and and fix. It's like having faith that there is a higher power,
Definitely.
an energy force that is so much more than that, that is in every molecule and every cell in our body. And we are, like we said earlier, we're connected to everything, aren't we?
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's like, that's what I was saying to you earlier when I did the float bath, and I was lying in this bath. It's in the dark. People don't. You're in the dark. Your senses are sort of, the idea is to get rid of your senses. And I was floating there, going, "Give me a sign, God, give me a sign," and nothing was coming. Then it just clicked. I thought, this is what we're in. We're floating in God, like a fish in the water. Yeah. The fish doesn't realise it's in the water, but it's like us. Everything's God. Everything. It's just seeing it because it's right in front of us. We don't see it. Everything. The breath, down to the breath. Without the breath.
Yeah. We're here to experience, and I know we're coming up for time, and I know you've got to go and see your mummy.
See my mummy.
But yeah, we literally are here to experience life, be an expression of life and creativity, and grow through adversity and challenges. And remember something there's something that really comes very, very strong to me recently, even stronger than ever, is we are all love. We are all love.
Yeah.
And it's about finding our way home, which is here to the heart centre, which is where the connection is to everything. When you access and find your way back there, your faith, the things start shifting and changing and expanding, don't
Definitely, yeah, 100%.
I'm so grateful for you.
No, thank you.
Tony.
Like I said, I appreciate you.
Doesn't feel like all these years have passed by.
No, but that's a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where you can just pick up with someone where you left off. I always think that's a good sign of a good relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely soul connections.
Yeah.
But I just want to say thank you so much, Tone.
No,
really do appreciate it. And yeah, I'd like to invite you back.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Time, come back on and share.
We could talk for hours, couldn't we?
I know
We had an hour before we started, didn't we?
I know, yeah. And there was, I said when we would come out the little coffee shop, I wish I'd filmed all that because that was just incredible. Yeah. But thank you so much again. Appreciate it. And thank you all for taking the time to listen. You can find Tony Summers' book on Amazon.
Yeah.
Fighter, Rescuer, Healer.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
It's only on Amazon now.
Yeah. Give it I highly recommend it. It's easy read as well. It's not like, it's a nice, easy read one as well. But yeah, it's really good. It was only one book on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done another one, but it's only a short one, just like a little.
We'll get that on there as well.
Yeah.
But thank you again, my darling. And thanks again. Whatever you're doing today, may be blessed. Love yourself. Find your way home to your heart. Put your music on. Do your yoga. Do your breath work. And just value each other and love the people you love and yourself. Thank you. Till next time.
Thank you.